Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another exciting meeting at Interpersonal Toastmasters. Let me invite this person who challenged everything and he always believes in leading a stressless life. Let me invite Toastmaster Jim as a Toastmaster of the day. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Raghu. Welcome everyone to another great meeting of Interpersonal Toastmasters. The theme, as far as the agenda goes, festivals around the world. I was prepared to talk about the issue of stress and how best to cope with it.
The theme is stress.
If you're talking about festivals, I've been to music festivals, I've seen food festivals, and they are great stress relievers. They can be great stress relievers. But I could also imagine putting one together could be quite stressful. Here's another scenario I'd like you to think about. You have an important presentation to give at your company at 10 a.m. You're driving there at about 9:15. There's an impatient driver behind you and they rear end you. You have to stay on the scene before the police arrive. They're there at 9:30, but they still haven't interviewed you yet. Your presentation's at 10, it's not going to be scheduled. How will you handle that situation? What's that feeling, that uncomfortable feeling, that feeling of heartburn, that feeling of anxiety that you have? What is that from? Well, that is stress, or how we react to what we consider to be stressful situations. That uncomfortable feeling could also be a matter of cortisol, the stress hormone that our body produces. It can act to help protect you from a perceived threat. For example, if you miss that presentation, what could it mean? It could mean that you might miss out on a promotion, which might have financial implications for yourself and your family. In the next segment, however, I'll talk more about the best ways that have been suggested from a medical standpoint, from none other than the Mayo Clinic and others, about some of the most effective ways that we can deal with the stressful situations in our lives so that we can enjoy things like festivals and all the other things in life that there are to enjoy. Let us first hear from our grammarian of the day, Aparna, and she will give us the word of the day. Aparna.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Jim. Good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Aparna, the grammarian for the day. And keeping with the theme of the meeting, the word of the day is frazzled. When you are anxious, behavior that gets you stressed out, what you demonstrate is being frazzled. As an origin, though most of us understand frazzled as anxiety, it comes from a British use of something that gets burnt out. It's frazzled. And when we talk about stress, we say we are, burnt out, burning the candle from both the ends, all of it frazzled. So that's the word for the day, frazzled. Back to you, Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you so very much. Our first speaker this evening, Toastmaster Catherine. She will be speaking from the Pathways Project, Understanding My Leadership Style. The title of her speech, My Lifelong Transformative Journey. The path is dynamic leadership. The title of her speech, My Lifelong Transformative Journey. The time, 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
A few years ago, I embarked on a life growth journey with the Institute of National Transformation in my country. And this is a course that helps leaders who are seasoned or geared towards taking public office. Institute for National Transformation took us through a short course after many studies of books like From Third World to First World by Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, The Gandhi, and many others like Dead Aid by Meredith. We were studying about how to transform our communities with a love or nationalistic or patriotistic love for our country. This, my friends, Toastmasters and guests, was the start of a lifelong transformation for me. Prior to that, I also noticed that through this course, I was able to learn several issues that affect my leadership style. Being a leader and having to lead a team of over 50 people and over 230 children in school with an alumnus of almost 1,000 girls, I knew that if I were to lead, I needed to be at the feet of people that have walked the journey just like you and I. And I was not ready to fail because I didn't get help. So what was my struggle? My struggle was that I was frizzled out. I hope that's the word, frazzled out. I was frazzled out with my workload and hoping that I could hold the fort without help. So walking into a space of leaders who had experienced what I have experienced was extremely helpful. So this is what I noticed. I noticed that when I lead without accountability, when I lead without checks and balances, I would fail. So I attached myself to the Institute of National Transformation. What did I learn from the leaders like these ones? I learned that just like Lee Kuan Yew, I was no different. I learned that just like the Gandhi, I was equally passionate. I learned that just like Meredith, I loved Africa. I loved my country. I loved my people. What was I going to do with that information? This is what I had to do. Apply it to myself. I recognized that I have 3 styles of leadership. One is bureaucratic. The second was altruistic. And my choice was I wanted to be altruistic. I wanted to walk away from the bureaucratic to the altruistic. How was I going to do that? I noticed that I was being frazzled out, was taking shape on my body. I was beginning to look puffed up, tired, and achy, especially on my feet. So I embarked on a very small but practical routine each night before I went to bed and each morning. After a bath, I grabbed some oil and my towel, oiled my feet, began to massage them deeply every night before I went to bed. This is what happened. 3 things: deeper sleep, longer sleep, much more energy and enthusiasm, a great and improved mood, and greater output at work and at home. I listened to myself and I said, what is it that I can pick this very routine into my leadership style, into my leadership journey? I likened the oiling of the feet to communication. I likened the massaging of the feet to coaching. I also likened the bathing of my feet and washing my feet with more attention to mindset changing. Took to my team, I began to spend time with them. I began to communicate deeper. I began to understand their needs. I began to listen with intent. I began to walk one to another. And this is exactly what I realized. Deeper, longer relationships, greater connections with them, and a greater output. This, ladies and gentlemen, has transformed my lifelong journey as an altruistic leader. Thank you very much, Toastmaster.
Much appreciated.
We need Sudhir to please mute. Or perhaps our host can mute him. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that speech, Catherine. Our second speaker, Susan Schultz. Her project, leading in your volunteer organization. It's from the Path Presentation Mastery, Level 5 elective, leading in your volunteer organization. Her speech title, Jump Right In, and the timing, 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Have you ever had an opportunity to join an organization and before you knew it, you needed to jump right in to a new situation that you planned? Well, let me take you on a little bit of a journey. It was contest season in the year 2020, and I had an individual I had asked to help me out at another club. Could you be a judge for me? And her response was, sorry, my club is not a club in good standing. We only have 7 members. So being the good altruistic individual I am, I joined the club so she could be my judge. Little did I know that that would unfold another entire journey. As February rolled around, sorry, I backtrack. In December, I was asked to be a judge in that club. In January, I was asked to be the chief judge of the next contest. And then February rolls around and the president quit. And they looked around the room with the slim pickings that we had and said, Susan, would you consider it? So what did I do? I said yes. I jumped right in. But I realized that I was now the 3rd president this club had from July till February. So you could tell that I would have my work cut out for me. There were several of the members of the team that I knew, and several that were brand new, so I knew nothing about them. So I thought perhaps the best thing I could do was work this like an interview. Let me share with them my background and that I have had the privilege of being a president in other clubs multiple times. So I had the resume to come right in and know I was already trained, I could handle it. But I didn't know the people. So I decided, let's make this an interview, a get to know one another session. And it was an icebreaker question that I asked them that said, what would be one quality you would like to see in your leader? And it gave me a little inkling of what they would expect of me if I could measure up to that requirement. Now, some of them were just someone to be organized or present. Thank the Lord, present after being the 3rd president. But I soon found out that there was a lot of other dynamics going on within this club that I wasn't yet prepared for. I asked, when do you have your officer meetings? And they go, we haven't really had any this year. Like, well, that's one of the things we're going to change. The second thing I said was, here we are now, March into April. Where's the club's success plan? I said, we didn't do one of those. Were we supposed to? I'm like, oh. I jumped right in and made sure that I got the feedback from everybody to find out, well, how are we going to address conflict? And how are we going to keep each of us accountable for the things that we say we're going to do according to the Toastmasters' integrity? If I say I'm going to do it, I darn well better. And I decided that what I needed to do is to lead by example. I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything at all that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. However, the downside of that is if people aren't accountable, I step right in, I jump right in, and I do it. And when I did ask for feedback, not that year, because they were just so busy doing the minutia, they asked me to be president for the next full year. So now I've completed at least my 6 months, plus the carryover from the last term. And in this time, we started right off with the officer meetings once a month, and they were very successful. There were new members of the team as well, and I had the darndest time trying to figure out what motivated some of them. Now, some of them were motivated within, and they knew they would do anything anybody ever asked for. And others were sit back, relax. I'm not doing anything I don't have to. And perhaps not even half of what I'm supposed to. The biggest challenge is if someone doesn't show up, it's hard to motivate them. If someone at least shows up, you can have an attempt to motivate them. So at the end of my full year's term last year, I decided I was going to send out a 360 evaluation to all of the 4 clubs that I was a president in last year. The biggest disappointment for me was I got back so few responses. 1 from each club, and 1 club 2 of them. My goodness, one would think the Toastmasters who are committed to doing this and saw what I would consider decent leadership. Most of my rankings were in the 4s and 5s, and some of the comments were very helpful, but the one most prevalent was ask the others to do more. If we got into a meeting and the Sergeant at Arms didn't show up to open the meeting, I stepped in. In 2 of my clubs, my VPE didn't show up for a few months. One was having a baby, she's excused. The other one was in the hospital with heart problems, so I stepped in and did her job as well. I don't think I missed a beat. I didn't get frazzled. And that was the biggest criticism that people had, was why on earth did you just step in to do the job? Ask someone else. And my answer often was, who? I didn't see anybody stepping up to the plate. So I just jump right in. And that's the biggest criticism that they had for me, that I jumped in too often. I said yes for everything, and I needed to hold the others accountable. Now, I don't know if I'll ever have the magic potion to know what motivates everybody. Some people, it's from within. Others need a carrot to be dangled in front of them. Others, a pat on the back or a public reward. But some of them I'll never figure out, especially the fellow who sat back and just waited for all to end. I challenge each one of you, don't be afraid to jump in. Jump in and do something, whether you're prepared for it or not, because we're told that we will be qualified for those jobs once we get in them. It is not at all hard to do. Just jump right into the deep end and have some fun. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so very much, Susan, for that very thought-provoking presentation. And now to continue a little on the theme of the evening. You're frazzled with your situation that's been causing you so much stress. How best do you deal with it? Well, there is a mental part of it, and there's also a physical part of it. And I guess the mental part, based on the example I gave earlier, where you're in a car accident, you miss your presentation that you had to give. that morning. One way to help from a mental standpoint is to see the situation for what it actually is. All that has really happened is that you had a car accident. But if you make it mean, well, if I miss my presentation, that means I did something wrong, or that means that I'm not responsible. A lot of the stress that we feel comes from not what happens in our lives, but what we make it mean. So that's the first thing, to see the situation for what it is. But there are also some other ways to deal with the stress that is unavoidable in our lives, so that we don't make it a constant companion. One of the first things is we need outlets. And by outlets, I mean physical, in terms of maybe exercise, preferably things that make you sweat. Because when we do vigorous exercise that produces perspiration, that perspiration is really our body helping us to get rid of toxins. So that's always a very good thing to do, because after we have a vigorous workout, we often feel exhilarated afterward. But secondly, there are things that we can also do in terms of self-care. We can eat well. And I am reminded of a speech that Aparna gave a few weeks ago, and I still see some of those smoothies that she had spoken about that looked and sounded so nutritious. Foods that hydrate, things like pineapple or spinach or celery, something along those lines that hydrate you and that can really make a difference in terms of how you feel and in terms of your vitality. Getting enough sleep, that's extremely important, at least 7 hours if you can. And one other thing, I don't happen to have a pet, but research has shown unfailingly that among the elderly and others for whom blood pressure is an issue, the act of petting a dog or just having a dog around you can do wonders for people in terms of lowering that blood pressure. So whether you have a dog or whether you want one, just being around a dog or any kind of pet can really help to release endorphins, that the loving types of endorphins that I know for me, every time I interact with a dog, there's a smile on my face the rest of the day. Why not try to have that be an everyday part of your life? It's possible. As I said, stress is a constant in our lives, but how you handle it begins and ends with you. Thank you for that. And now we will hear from our table topics master for the evening, Viveka.
Thank you, Jim. Quite thought-provoking, actually. Susan, just get in. Wow. I felt that you were targeting me. I'm actually irresponsible with respect to the Toastmasters thing, but not that you were targeting me, but I come under the category of people who don't show up, who are irresponsible, and you have to show carrots to them or whatever. But I was just wondering, where do I belong to among the three categories you had mentioned? Thank you, Jim. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon. So here we are. Let's improve impromptu speaking. Unlike prepared speeches or section, this helps us to think on our feet. I hope everyone gives this a shot. You have good 2 minutes to speak about it, 1 minute or 2 minutes about the topic that will be given to you. But I would request everyone to just speak anything. If you don't understand it, or if you don't think that you'll be able to speak, the idea is to speak freely in front of people. So I would want few volunteers, or shall I pick one? Yeah, Diana, I will give it to you. All right. Okay, Diana, the topic for you is what causes stress in your life? All right, just note it down and just text it to me. All right, I'll continue with another one. All right, cool. Okay, so let's pick from a Toastmasters group so that guests get an idea of what it is about. All right. So all right.
Viveka, Piyush had raised his hand.
Piyush. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Piyush. Is that fine? Shall I give you a topic?
Yeah, hey, Viveka, sure.
Sorry, I didn't see you raising the hand. All right. What is the rat race that you are still part of? I repeat, what is the rat race that you are still part of?
Thank you, Toastmaster Viveka. I have a slightly different perspective, or maybe a different term for the rat race. Maybe we call it a healthy competition. So there are many healthy competitions or rat races I feel that I become part of. For example, in general, one of the areas of improvement for me has been how I deliver my speeches. So that's one race where I'm consistently trying to improve myself, and with the help of Toastmaster, trying to find what's my leadership style and how I can influence and help people around me. Another one is running. It's not getting any better. Certainly, I'm trying to figure out how I can be better, maybe have better timing for my half marathons. So the past few half marathons, I did something like 2 hours and 10 minutes. This time with even less preparation, I was trying to hit the same time, but I took 5 minutes more. So it took me like 2 hours, 15 minutes. So these are just 2 areas to name a few, but I feel that a lot more places part of the rat race or healthy competition. Thank you so much. Over to you, Viveka.
Thank you, Piyush. I really liked your 2 points. One was that to improve your speaking skills, communication skills. Second was marathon that you're doing, and you're right that it's healthy competition, and that's a very good thing that you take it as healthy competition. I like the angle that you took. I like the tangent that you're taken. That is really good, amazing. All right, next is Kenneth. Kenneth, can I have you?
Sure thing, Viveka.
Yes. So I'm shooting. If stress burned calories, I'd be a supermodel. It's a saying. If stress burned calories, I'd be a supermodel.
Viveka, what a relevant statement. I think I would have the body of Arnold Schwarzenegger if stress burned calories, because I always find something to stress about. Most of the time it's work. I like Susan, I'm also a person who's a just jump in, and I end up with too many projects and not enough accountability around me. And I end up feeling like I'm carrying everybody else's stress. So I guess that was what would give me those giant, huge Arnold Schwarzenegger type biceps. I heard recently Arnold Schwarzenegger raised $150,000 working out with someone for charity. That would be really cool. If I could use my stress to raise $150,000 for charity, man, I would feel way better about all the stress I do. Back to you, Viveka.
Thank you, Kenneth. Kenneth, I had chosen you purposely for this topic because when I saw your name and I saw the topic, I had it was a pleasure seeing you. I had this pleasure of attending your session once, so I knew that you will be able to justify the topic, and thank you for justifying it. All right, let me take some guests. Rosemary, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that was quite prompt. Thank you. So you'd be able to take it? Shall I shoot? You'd like to?
Yes.
All right. What do you do when you're anxious? Do you become aggressive or go silent? And why? I repeat, what do you do when you're anxious? Do you become aggressive or go silent? And why?
What do I do? I am a very cool person, so I cannot remember the last time I was anxious or get aggressive. I do not get aggressive. I can remember a few days ago, I was taking a walk, an early morning walk, and there was this madman on the road trying to get me frazzled because he was screaming, he was shouting, and he was telling me negative things. Now, I was the only person on the road, so I tried to put up a brave face because my mother always told me, he who gets vexed, lost. When you get vexed, you lost. And so I never tried to get vexed. And when he started screaming and shouting, I turned back and I said, hey. And he was so surprised because most time he does that, people return the same reaction to him. So he just went silent and I started walking so quickly because I did not know how he would react to me just grinning at him. So I do not get anxious. I keep my cool. I may be anxious in my stomach or what, but most times I just keep my cool. And I guess it is because of practice. Because when you get vexed, you really lost. Sometimes you're supposed to get something, and because you get angry, you just storm away and leave whatever is there for you. So I do not get angry. I try not to get frazzled most of the time, and I do not get anxious. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for attempting it, and you were really good. When I gave you this topic, I thought, is it tough? Did I do something wrong? I should have changed the topic, but wow, you were fantastic. And I'm just your opposite. I get frazzled a lot, but I don't go aggressive. I go silent. I just don't know what to do. I just start blabbering. So yeah, all right. So who's the next? Come on, guys, volunteer at least. All right, I'll pick somebody. All right, I'm picking out my own. Raghu, I haven't seen Raghu speaking a lot lately.
Go
Raghu,
ahead.
are you there? Will you take it?
Yeah, I can take it. Sudhir has raised his hand and Diana want her message to be read loud.
All
So
right,
probably
all right.
you can
So,
give them an opportunity.
I'll give it to Sudhir. I think we will be running
Yeah,
out.
and when it is left something in the end, I can take it out.
And I'll give Diana's as well. I'll read aloud. Don't worry, Diana, I'm just coming. All right, Sudhir, you there?
Hi, Viveka. Yes, I'm ready for that. Yes, I'm ready, Viveka.
All right. What stresses you more? Your partner, your children, your weight, or your boss? I repeat, what stresses you more? Your partner, your children, your weight, or your boss?
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters. So what stresses me more? That my wife, my work, my boss, or something. So and every day. Am I audible, Viveka?
You're audible. You're quite audible.
So as a part of my day, part of my day, being a part in my life. So I cannot avoid all this. Depend on situation, depend on time. One will be successful for informal situation. So one beautiful thing I heard in today's meeting by the Jim, that is stress is always there. The only thing how you handle it. Exactly, it was with that. So stress is there in everywhere. So stress is there. Sometimes stress will be get from my wife, and stress is there with in my office, and stress is there with many difficult situations here, with many different situations. So the only thing I will do, I will be try to be calm for a moment, and I will think it of how to handle and what's going on there. So I will pick some ideas, and I will get few with that span of few seconds, or with the span of couple of minutes. So I will get little calm, and I can be able to handle the situation. But there is some times where I can't able to handle the situation. I will burst out with the people. So that is the thing I have to change it in my life. Thank you, Viveka, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you for attempting it, although we were losing you, but I like the way you attempted it, and I wanted you to speak, and you were speaking, and you had a train of thought that was really nice. All right, I'm just reading out Diana's section. She's written, frazzled, my life getting bad, stressful inside, that frazzled getting in my blood cell, were shake, my hand were frazzled with workplaces. But I know that feeling stressful from my boss, and I don't like the stressful frazzled. I really liked it, Diana. Very good. All right, so we're running out of time. Thank you everyone for attempting it, and everybody was good. All right, back to you, table topic master Jim. Thank you.
Toastmaster. Jim, you are mute.
The Toastmaster.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Viveka, for that very interesting Toastmaster segment or table topic segment. And now regarding the meeting evaluation, another example of people just stepping in at when necessary, just to make sure that our meeting is as effective as it possibly can be. As always, people had thought-provoking information to share, and the camaraderie that is part of this group, it's become apparent once again. It stands out. With that, we will hear from our speech evaluator number 1, Piyush. If you please, Piyush.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jim. Catherine, this is my second time evaluating your speech, and it was flawless, I would say. And by the way, I'm also attempting that module of dynamic leadership, and thank you for the speech so that I will not be frazzled when I do my first one. It was an amazing speech, and you shared about your leadership style and how you transformed into or making an attempt into getting into the altruistic leadership style. So well understood. It clearly showed how much interest you have in the topic, and the research you have done taking example from your personal life and how some of the events that you attended, the course you took, and within that, how you learned from Gandhi, who was passionate, and Meredith, who loved the country, and the commonality between you and some of the great personalities. I've noticed great use of hand gestures and expressions. So amazing that that's been pretty much continued from your last speech. Every word you speak, there is proper clarity. Like I can't miss. Like there's nothing where I'm thinking like, what's that word? So thank you for getting that clarity in your speech. You started this habit morning and evening, like massaging your feet, and how you tied that concept to your leadership style, and you started getting more time, greater connection with your team to become a lifelong leader. That was great. Like you started with something and then you tied up to the leadership style and connected to how it's impacting in a good way your leadership style. You completed within time. That was another great thing in the speech. Things you could do better. I think one thing you could do is maybe ask a question to engage with audience, like how you did in the previous one. Another one, given in the virtual setup, it's important to have your camera set up right, the lighting set up right, and I sort of did myself. If I can show, I have this ring light. I sometimes use it, but not always. And I have the light source right in front. So I noticed that when you're standing up and speaking, sometimes the light on your face wasn't proper. So I might not have gotten all of the expressions that you're trying, but great hand gestures, I was able to catch all that. So maybe minor thing about setting up your lighting in the room in a way that your expressions come out right. So just to summarize, you excelled at showing great interest in the topic, well-researched, great use of hand gestures. You tied the story from the physical thing, like massaging your feet, to your leadership style. Two of the areas of improvement could be having a better camera setup and maybe asking a question to engage better with the audience. Thank you. Toastmaster Jim, over to you.
Thank you so much, Piyush, for that evaluation. And we will now hear from evaluator number 2, Kenneth, if you will, please.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jim. Susan, I'll start with how your speech made me feel. It was very, very, to use Jim's words, thought-provoking. Last night I went to bed frazzled thinking about this exact issue. Why at work do I always end up doing everybody else's jobs? I was going through, searching online, looking at different blogs and all kinds of stuff. So really, you're touching something that, you know, I feel and relate to. In terms of your speech, I liked how you started with a question. Always a good opener. You had a very strong conversational tone, which made it easy to follow you. I thought your audience awareness, very, very high. I mean, you're talking about Toastmasters. We all here as Toastmasters. It's very easy for us to imagine someone in your situation, not to mention you are a Toastmasters pro. And I think everybody in this Zoom call knows you can handle whatever is thrown at you. So you have a lot of credibility in your speech too, and that really came through. Given how strong a speaker you are, I had to struggle to find some areas for you to work on. But as I know you enjoy feedback, I went and tried to find a few things. I think one area where you could improve is using further vocal variety, specifically in the dialogue portion of your speech, where you were speaking to the different club members. Your tone and speech variety stayed the same. There's an opportunity there to use some additional, throwing your voice. The other thing I thought you might be able to do is you're saying you're struggling and trying to find everybody else's motivation. You've got that guy who just sits and shows up and you can't crack that nut. But I never heard your Toastmasters why. Why did you pick that club to join? I know there was a friend there, but you decided to help. And maybe part of this cracking this nut is helping us know you more and what your limits are and things along that line. Really enjoyed your speech, found it very, very relatable, and I can't wait to hear your next one. Back to you, Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. Thank you for that evaluation. Let us now hear from the grammarian, Sudhir.
Grammarian is
I'm
Aparna.
sorry.
Oh. Oh, no. I meant the R counter, Sudhir.
No, we don't have an R counter for today. I sent you the message in private. It's only grammarian and timer.
Okay, so if we can hear from the grammarian for this evening.
All right, so thank you, everyone. There was a lot of use of the word frazzled, and not for a minute did I see anybody frazzled. So it was wonderful that we did use the word, and yet, like I said, not one person that I found frazzled. Some great usage through everyone's speeches. Catherine, of course, the tone, and there was fantastic evaluation there that Kenneth already shared with you. Loved the way you used a whole bunch of words, just so easy. Accountability that you talked about, so it was really nice. Great piece there. Catherine with also Piyush giving you your evaluation. You've heard what went right. As always, it was a joy to hear you speak. Susan jumped right in, hold someone accountable. So that word seems to have done the round today. Right. I love the carrot dangled in front bit. The advantage that I see of our club, especially because we've got so many people from different parts of the world, we get to hear English, which we from the Indian subcontinent don't use as often. Because in India, one of our challenges is each one of us thinks in our language of comfort, and we translate in the process. So the big advantage is we get to hear words that usually would be spoken from, well, a native English thinker. I wouldn't say native English speaker, because then that I restrict myself to the British Islands. But, because as I see it, even the Americans don't essentially speak English. So there is an American English, which is so different. But that's a big advantage when I hear all of you speak here in this club. Jim, again, the use of the word frazzled. I love the pace with which you speak. I keep telling myself I have to get to that pace. There's the advantage when you speak that slow is anyone who's not oriented to an accent is able to pick up every single word. Because each one of us has our own accent. And if we speak a little slower than we would normally, it helps just everyone pick up. So that's something that I've noticed always as a grammarian. When we slow down, it helps all the audience to engage and connect. So that was lovely. And of course, a whole bunch of words. Camaraderie stayed with me, not just as a word, but also as a feeling that I share in the club. Rosemary is good. You used the word frazzled as well. Love vexed. It was so in line with frazzled as another possible synonym. So thank you for giving us that word vexed as a use, as a possible another one for not that you either were vexed or any of us were. Viveka, great use, did use frazzled. That I absolutely love the topics for the day-to-day, so much in theme and interesting. So they didn't hear you too well. There was a particular usage that you did, and you use your time very well. When we talk about handle, now this is what I meant when I said, as Indians, we translate. You could handle a situation, which is possible. Handling people, well, politically incorrect. Yeah, we don't handle people. It's not okay. So you perhaps handle a situation, and you either deal with people or manage people. So that's something that you want to look out from a language use and perspective. Perfect evaluations there, Piyush. Love to hear you take it on. And I agree, it was so difficult to find anything in Catherine's speech yet some very valuable feedback there from your end. So that was wonderful. Kenneth, I just love your energy. And you just bring in so much of your personal self when you evaluate. So that was absolutely bang on as well. Great going there, everyone. Deanna, forever love to hear you express your thoughts. And of course, you use the word frazzle. Not that I think anything frazzles you. Someone who is the ability that you have, I don't think any of us can frazzle you, Deanna. So it was good to hear you. Back to you, Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you so much, Aparna, for that. Thank you very much. Let us hear now from our timer, Joycey. You're muted, Joycey.
I think she's frozen. She may be disconnected.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll come back time permitting. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask our guests to comment on tonight's meeting. What reactions do you have regarding tonight's meeting? Any guest, feel free.
Thank you, Deanna. I think Joycey is back.
Oh,
Joycey.
Okay. Thank you. If you could run down the times for the evening, Joycey, if you would, please.
Okay, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
My apologies. I had a power cut.
Okay.
So I had to connect my mobile data to get back on. So my apologies for that. And forgive me, I'm in the dark, as you can see. I'm just going to put my torch on so that I can read the times for you.
Okay.
So it was very timely and it got me frazzled. Okay, for our first speech, Catherine spoke for 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Our second speaker, Susan, spoke for 7 minutes and 13 seconds. For the table topics, Piyush, sorry if I've pronounced it wrong, spoke for 1 minute and 27 seconds. Kenneth spoke for 49 seconds. Rosemary spoke for 1 minute and 49 seconds. Sudhir spoke for 2 minutes and 27 seconds. I don't know if I should have counted all that because we couldn't hear him half of the time. And Deanna's contribution was for 18 seconds. For the evaluations, Piyush spoke for 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and Kenneth spoke for 2 minutes and 7 seconds. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.